Harry Craig Cottle, Director of Nature Reliance School. Many years ago, Tracy Trimble and myself, Tracy's another instructor with Nature Reliance School, co-author of the book Essential Wilderness Navigation. We used to get together and do basically a gear shakedown, gear review after classes that we were doing, in a means of helping students and helping ourselves. We haven't done those in quite some time. I thought I would re-up those again on occasion, and in hopes of helping people learn after another 10 years of experience that I've had, not only with my own gear, but in watching other people and how it performs in classes. We teach such a range of different people, from well-advanced people that have their own schools that come to us and train, as well as brand new people that are new to the subject of survival and bushcraft and tracking and nav and all that stuff and how they perform. So anyway, a lot of experience has been gained, a lot of knowledge has been gained by myself and the other instructors at Nature Reliance School, and I thought I would get together with you all here on camera and do these dirty gear reviews. So what we had this past weekend is what we refer to as level 2 survival, advanced survival, and there's not a whole lot to it as far as, okay, these are the things that we're going to do and this is what you must carry. Here's what I do to force people to think. I tell them that the gear list is 25 pounds or less. You can bring whatever you want to bring for the weekend. It doesn't matter. It's just got to be 25 pounds or less in your pack. And yeah, so in a nutshell, what I find in doing that is that people tend to either decide to eat good or sleep good. And if they listen to us in level 1 and all the other information is out there, you better have stuff for thermal regulation first. So that's the first test. So with that said, I'm going to go through everything that I used, the things that I didn't use in class this weekend, and tell you how it went for me. So again, if you're here for entertaining, great videography, whiz-bang graphics and stuff like that, you're in the wrong place. Nature Reliance School is all about educational content. When my wife Jennifer's doing the videography, she adds a lot of that stuff to make it fun and entertaining. But these gear reviews are not going to be that part of our free output that we give to people like this. This is straight up educational content. So if you're interested in learning, I'm glad you're here. If you're here to be entertained, you might as well move on and go somewhere else. So first things first, let's go from the ground up. I typically wear, I don't know if you can see them in shot, but I typically wear New Balance tennis shoes. One of the things I discovered when writing my second book, Ultimate Wilderness Gear, is that the form of people's feet will determine which shoes fit them the best, the shape and form and the layout of your foot. So if you find a pair of shoes that fits you, then you probably need to find something in that same line of footbed, same manufacturer, for hiking shoes, running shoes, exercise shoes, and stuff like that. For me, that's New Balance. I have found that New Balance foot platform works best for my feet. My back doesn't hurt as much. Anyway, so, but I have these 3/4 height New Balance Gore-Tex trail running shoes or trail hiking shoes. They say they're waterproof, like most of that stuff is. They're not waterproof. They will leak and get water in them, but these are incredibly comfortable. They have the waffle knit. For those who've been in tracking class, this is waffle. So these work exceptionally well. They give me a little bit more protection up on the ankle, and they provide a little bit more stability. They're a little bit stronger than my typical tennis shoe that I wear most of the time. My socks, I wore some Carhartt merino wool. Merino wool is one of the best synthetics out there, in my opinion, that you can take wool from a critter, put them on, and it doesn't itch, it doesn't, they're incredibly comfortable, and they work exceptionally well. I had these on the whole time and never had to change my socks. My feet didn't get wet, but I took real good caution to not get my feet wet, even in my shoes. Here's something, an interesting piece. This is the first time I'd wore it for a weekend. I wore it here and there out here during my daily walks, but these are 3/4 height merino wool against the skin layer that I got from Mountain Ops. The beautiful thing about this piece of equipment is they have zips on the side, as you can see right there. These go all the way down, and they have Velcro at the top. and you can literally have your pants on and take these off while you have your pants on, just as long as you can get the zipper all the way down your leg. That was very attractive to me, in the fact that, hey, I'm doing something, I'm gonna get real hot. Can I take my skin layer off and not get totally naked, for the sake of, hey, I don't want to get exposed to the elements and stuff of that nature. They worked exceptionally well. Now, don't get me wrong, I never took them off. I had them on the whole weekend. But I've done that where I've had pants on, taking these on and off. It's awkward, but it sure does make it such that you don't get a lot of skin exposure and lose a lot of heat in the process. I love these things. These were comfortable. I thought if I slept on them and dealt with them for a whole weekend, I wouldn't like the zippers on the side, sleeping on my side. That proved to not be a problem whatsoever. The only issue I had with them is that they kind of rode up. They go down about half calf, so I have fairly large calves, and so they don't really go all the way over my calves, and so they kind of rode up to the knee a few times. Small issue there. I love these things. My upper body skin layer, and I wish people would get this. I just don't understand why they don't get it, but we sell, and everybody in the world sells, some sort of wicking long sleeve t-shirt. I bought three shirts like this of my own, basically paid for them myself, so that I would have plenty of shirts that I could wear against my skin that wicks moisture in a long sleeve version. I wore this all weekend. I've done this for years, and it works exceptionally well. Over top of that, most of the weekend, I had this really cheap Carhartt, fairly thin, lightweight vest that I kept against my trunk and my core to keep my trunk warm. It worked exceptionally well. It has a zipper here to keep your phone handy. It has a zipper inside. You can put your phone in there if it's really cold, so your phone stays warm and doesn't lose its battery power. I love this little vest. It's worked exceptionally well for me. What I also had, and this is new to me, is I got a First Spear merino wool vest. And this is pricey, I'll go ahead and tell you. But I've been wanting to see how this would work. It worked exceptionally well. I wore it on Friday night and half the day on Saturday, just as a means of testing it out. And it was, you know, it got down into the high 20s at night, each night, and all the way up to 40s on one day. But the first day it was rather cold, mid 30s, wind blowing, and I had this on with the next layer, and it worked exceptionally well. This is just a 3/4 zip. It doesn't go all the way down, but I used it when I was starting to get warm, doing different things like cutting wood and stuff of that nature. It worked exceptionally well to be able to ventilate, and I love this vest. It'll be a new integral part of my regular setup. My pants, well, let me go to the jacket. I wore the Hill People Gear wind cheater on top of that vest, and a couple of modifications that Hill People Gear did over top of the First Spear is they have a longer tail, and I'm telling you right now, I'm starting to become very fond of the longer tails on garments to keep wind out of and off of my lower back. Actually, it provides a little bit of a seat cover when you're sitting down, if you happen to sit down unexpectedly on something wet. That way your butt doesn't get soaked altogether. What I also did, and this will come up later too, but another variation on the Hill People Gear jacket versus the First Spear is that they have these Napoleon hand warmer pockets right here. They have the zips, pockets that go underneath that. One of the things that we do, I'll go ahead and tell you a little bit about class, is we pass out cards, and people had to deal with what's on the card. I draw the card too. All the instructors at Nature Blind School do. And so the card that I drew this weekend was, you can't wear gloves all weekend long. So I don't wear gloves a lot anyway, so it wasn't a real hard one for me. Last year's was very hard for me. But what I did find is these hand warmer pockets, even when I was carrying my chest kit, proved to be really nice to just get my hands out of the air, warm them up against my body and stuff of that nature. I typically use the hand warmer pockets for just my hands and nothing else. I don't put gear in there because there is no security to keep it in there. If I want something that I'm just going to have in there and gather and get at times, then I put it in these zippered pockets. This works exceptionally well. I love it. It's not cold enough here in Kentucky in a class like this, rarely cold enough that we need to have a ruff, but it does have a zipper on it so that you can zip in a ruff that you can also get from Hill People Gear, but I've never had need of that. It's just not that cold here. The guys out in, like the Hill People Gear guys, they're out in Colorado and high in the Rockies. Yeah, that's a really useful tool. But if that's you too, then you can get that. The pants that I wore, I have grown incredibly fond of really inexpensive, cheap Wrangler, Walmart. I just call them stretchy pants. They're comfortable because I get up and down and do a lot of work. I actually work out in these pants. I actually do wood chop and everything I need to do in these pants. They're very, very comfortable. So these are just Walmart. They have cargo pockets that are kind of cumbersome. I wouldn't get them thinking I'm gonna put a lot of stuff in the cargo pockets. It's just they're not really big and they're a little bit problematic in that they just don't wear right. But they are comfortable. Here's the issue: because they are stretchy, then they're very susceptible to burns. I've had these pants for a couple of years now, and so I've got, you can see, 1 or 2 little burn spots on them. And this is why I'm calling it Dirty Review. I wore these pants all weekend. They got pretty dirty. They're pretty hardy. Keep in mind, again, even though they got a hole in them, they're probably 2 years old. I got this leather belt. I started wearing leather belts as a strap so that I could have a strap with me in the outdoors. This comes from Hank Belts, but I'm getting ready to get a belt from Boone's Lick Leather. Kevin Lebke is a good friend of Nature Reliance School, so I recommend them. I'll have a link for that as well. On top of that, I had the Nature Reliance School beanie. These have been working great. They wick moisture. One of the things that I love about these hats is when you wear them when you go to sleep, you can take these and just put them down and keep the light out of your eyes if you got a fire going or something of that nature. So it helps to keep you warm all the way down across your ears, and you can still breathe and don't collect moisture and stuff of that nature. So I really love our beanies for that purpose, and we're trying to get more. We're currently out of them. On top of that, I had the Nature Reliance School shemagh. This I used for, I put some extra stuff in it and used it as a pillow, tied it up and used it as my pillow when I slept at night. I also use this as a rain cover. It's actually a little damp right now. Instead of having to put on my rain jacket when we hiked out, the hike out's about 1.5 miles, 2 miles, somewhere there along that line from where we did the class. So I liked this for putting on my shoulders, collecting most of the rain on my shoulders. When it got a little bit hard, I could put my hood up on my jacket, or I could put this up depending upon whether I thought it was going to be long lasting or not. This thing ended up, I used it when I was cooking to wipe my knife off, to clean it off. It worked exceptionally well. Trying to think. These things are invaluable tools. I love these things. Now let's get into the packing stuff. So I used all weekend the LT Wright knives built, designed by me, Shay Manise. This class in particular is where this knife absolutely just shines. Because we processed rabbits, we processed quail, we did survival stuff, cutting cordage and gathering hemlock boughs. We gathered firewood, we built figure 4 sets. This knife is just, this knife comes out as a champ in that particular type of activities. Just a lot of varied activities. Making tinder bundles, scraping yucca. We made cordage from yucca as well as rootlets. We built digging sticks. We did all sorts of things, and this knife absolutely shines in that type of class. So what it doesn't do is large chopping things. It's a lightweight knife, and so using it like an axe, like a lot of people use bushcraft knives, which I don't think is a very smart thing to do, it just works exceptionally well. It does really light chopping tasks very easily. But there was a dude that had a really nice, I think it's the SE5, I think it's the 5. Anyway, it's the bushcraft version that's got the bow drill divot in it. When we were needing somebody to do some of the larger chopping tasks, we got him to do that. large chopping task because his knife worked exceptionally well. But again, that knife doesn't work very well as a game processor or doing fine work, or my estimation is just watching it in classes. So anyway, there's no knife that is the perfect knife is what I'm saying. So there you go. I carried my chest kit, and this is basically my oh crap, things have gone bad, I'm gonna use it kit, and it stays on me almost the whole time. The only thing I use out of it for the weekend is I keep my phone on me and I keep it charged. I use these Poseidon, I think that's what they're called, chargers. They work exceptionally well. They're good for a whole weekend. But with that said, I keep my phone on airplane mode almost the whole time I'm there, so I can continue to use my GPS, and I don't get all the, you know, like when I turn my phone on, I probably had 3,000 different messages and stuff I have to go through now. So this works exceptionally well. The other stuff that was in here is I've got wire, I've got duct tape, I've got water purification tablets. I didn't use any of that. I've got my firearm that I didn't carry it on my side this time. I carried it in my chest kit. I didn't use that, didn't have need for that this weekend. So this is great for backup, but I just didn't use much out of it in this particular class. You'll notice I usually have one of the Hill People Gear pockets on the back. I took it off and put it on the pack, and that way this is like oh crap kind of stuff in this particular class, and I didn't have to use it, which is good. What I did use is, let's talk about this. I have one of the cheap Energizer headlamps. I have found that these, you know, Walmart style, Amazon Energizer headlamps work exceptionally well. It's got red light and it's got white light and different levels of each, so it worked exceptionally well. I have no problem with that. Inexpensive, and I'm a fan. So let's get into this. So here's my setup for the weekend. I bought these really thin, like cheap pads to lay on. Well, actually I bought it because I carried the TP poles on my truck, and I put this on my truck to lay the TP poles on. That's what I bought them for, because they're so cheap. But I thought, hey, I'll take that this weekend and couple it with something I'll tell you about in a little bit and see if that works as a bed, and it worked exceptionally well. As big as I am, I'm overweight, obviously. I don't think this would be enough for me just on rocks and dirt, which is pretty much what we slept on. So it worked very well in concert with what I'll tell you about in a little bit later. So that's there. Inside of my pocket, here's some things. So I took my other Chamonix. I have two. When I saw the black handle, I just couldn't resist. I had to get one of the black handle ones. I haven't used it in a class much. It's the same knife. The prototype, which is what I showed you before, that's the first knife LT Wright ever built. That's mine. That's what I carry all the time. It has a thinner handle. When we put it out to the public, well, I put it out to the students, and I let several other instructors handle it outside of our organization and inside, and they said they wanted the handle a little bit thicker. So the knives that we sell now and River's Edge sells are a little bit thicker like that. So I wanted to take that and work with it for the weekend because I had not used that much on the weekend. So I used that one first day, and then I took this one to use the rest of the time, and it worked like a champ. I like it, and I see why everybody wanted the thicker handle, even though I like the thinner one. So that, and I've got this is something, I know this is simple, but I was pretty happy with myself. I took another cap one of our students had made for me and used it on the second day. The first day I'm close enough to my truck I could trade out and just test some stuff for me, but I discovered, this is silly, I know, this little area right up in here is like a hidden compartment, and it doesn't carry much. But what I've discovered is I can take a beanie like this and stuff it up in there, and it uses that space and doesn't go wasted. But this is a handcrafted merino wool cap that is very comfortable. I used it on day 2. This I didn't use at all, but this is a trauma kit and waterproof container. I didn't use this at all, and thankfully I didn't want to use it, but it's there. This is one of those Magpul DACA patches, so that works exceptionally well. I didn't talk about it, but my tourniquet is on the bottom of my chest kit, so that was there. So the beauty of this Hill People Gear system is, is that it's so modular and you can do so much with it. Like this pocket comes off and it can go on my chest kit and the Recon harness, and then I can take it on and off and put it on my pack, which is what I did this weekend. So here's what I did use a lot. I have one of these, I don't know what they're called, but this comes from Hill People Gear as well. This is like a backup to my chest kit. It's got an extra water filter purification tablets in it. It's got one of the Exotac, I forget what they call, but they have the spider webbing, cordage on it, duct tape, and then this screws off and has a needle in it that you can then use this handle to push through. Nice little idea, a little expensive, but a nice idea. I keep that in there to take care of packs and gear, and you know, if somebody draws first blood and sew up my arm. Not really, but that worked exceptionally well. I keep electrolyte packets in there. We ended up this is my backup for safety. We end up getting into that because some people were getting cramping a little bit, me being one of them. So I used that to carry some extra. I used the new Nature Reliance School cup with the Nature Reliance School bottle. This is what I used most of the weekend. My extra to carry other water. And when I say most of this backup and extra stuff I'm talking about, you all, is extra stuff I carry for other people. If it was just me, I'd probably just carry the NRS cup and bottle. And but I also had this military style cup and the military canteen, the plastic style, and it works exceptionally well. And I just kept this as a backup. One of the reasons that, and it's hard to get this across to people, that I wanted this bottle versus something like this, and even a clean canteen bottle, is when we were processing game, you can put water in this and then force water out and squeeze it to help clean the game, clean your hands, and any number of things. That seems like an unimportant thing, but if that's the water you got, then you can use it to force water with pressure like you would do at a kitchen sink. So that's another benefit of a bottle of this nature. So I didn't use this. This was a backup in case somebody got wet and we had to put them in a bivy bag because they fell in a creek or something. But this is that SOL reflective bivy. It's super lightweight, doesn't take up hardly any space at all, and so I kept this as a safety measure for the people in class in case somebody went into the drink. Worked really well for that. On top here, I went away from Hill People Gear on this just because I've gotten so accustomed to using the Mountain Serape, and it works exceptionally well, but I wanted to test and see how this piece of gear worked. This piece of gear is just a Wilderness Innovations tarp. I'll show you why I chose this tarp this time. This is made of Cordura. I wouldn't normally put it on the top, but that's just how it played out. I like keeping this close and accessible because this can be used as an impromptu litter to carry people out, and it can also be utilized to quickly grab and put over you if you got a quick rainstorm that you didn't expect or didn't sense was coming. Also in here, the reason the water bottles are not in the water bottle pockets is because I had my Crocs in there for easy access. Normally I have my water bottles here and I have my Crocs elsewhere, but I tried that this weekend. That worked well. So here's my bed for the weekend. I'm a big fan of garbage bags, and so in our environment you can gather leaves and put it in a garbage bag and use this as an insulating layer between you and the ground. That way you basically don't have to carry a thermarest or a pad or a climate or whatever, and you make your bed when you get to your location. Plus, the garbage bag has so many other uses. That's what I use for my bed with this on top of it, and it worked out really well, other than I was on an incline and kept sliding off. Inside here, I have an LL Bean jacket, and to be as frank with you as I can, I bought this little light puffy jacket to overthrow to throw over stuff to keep warm, but I bought it because I thought it looked good and it would help me look good on camera. So that's the reason I bought these particular colors. It works well for that, but now it's got like all kinds of blood and grease where I wore it deer hunting and stuff of that nature, so it's not real pretty anymore. But that worked really well. What I ended up doing is I would take my wind cheater off at night, and then I put this on as an insulating layer and get under what else I'm going to show you. And that works really well for me. I've gotten to where the wool and stuff on the outside doesn't help me move around in a bag or a blanket very well, and so I'll wear this sort of stuff when it's exceptionally cold, but I'm going real lightweight and don't have a sleeping bag. So with that said, the last piece is this Wilderness Innovations, and I'm gonna go ahead and tell you, I've been using the Hill People Gear Serape for years, and I absolutely love it. But again, as a means of testing other gear, I'm always looking for it, so I can give people good advice on gear. I got the Wilderness Innovations similar garment. It's a poncho. It works well as a blanket. I basically button it with the tarp on top because they match up perfectly. Works really well for that, and they stay together. What I did the second night is I had just this blanket over me, and I buttoned the tarp so that only half of it was on me, on my torso, and my legs were uncovered. And I discovered that using the poncho in concert with a blanket, which I've done with the Hill People Gear stuff before as well, just wanted to try it with this too. It needs just a little bit more of a barrier from the wind and allows the heat to stay in when you're covered up with a tarp too. So that's why I like this particular system, and it worked really well for that. So the rest of the night I put it down and buttoned the whole thing and kept under this. Basically what I'm saying is my legs were a little bit chilly at the first of the night because they were not covered by the tarp. They were only covered by this. So lesson learned there, that I've learned that over many trips, but worked really well for that. Inside here this is a Snug Pack waterproof waterproof bag. Most of the time I usually just have a garbage bag, but Snug Pack sent me that to review, so I used it. That's it. That's the gear that I used in advanced survival, level 2 survival with Nature Reliant School. I was leading class. The other instructors that were there were Davey Black, Sam Bulig, and Dave Robinson. They worked exceptionally well and did a lot of really good things throughout the class. It just, Tracy Trimble and I have been doing this stuff for a long time. It's been primarily me and him, but now there's others helping us, which makes class so exponentially better. So as I get older, and I have a more difficult time being out there, these guys can step it up and help me. I'm still out there doing it and will be as long as I possibly can. But it's always good to have backup and friends and not have to be the man. So I love those guys for that. Appreciate that. The students in this class were phenomenal. So again, to reiterate what we did, they get a card at the beginning of class and they have to do what's ever on that card. Like for example, mine was, I mentioned earlier, I lost my gloves, and then I didn't get the gloves the rest of the weekend. There were other things. A person lost their whole kit, their whole pack. They didn't get to take it with them. So they had to figure out how to overcome that. I don't want to get into too many details because again, I want that to be a surprise, but there were a lot of surprises like that, and people just absolutely just like, okay, let's do this. I mean, it was phenomenal. I feel like we've got the best instructional group of people in the world. I truly do. And it's just phenomenal that we end up having just the greatest students in the world too. I mean, it's just a collective of people that love helping one another, growing and getting better and stronger in skills, learning about gear and stuff of that nature. A lot of this stuff, as I've mentioned, we're testing grounds. I know what my kit should be. I've been doing it long enough, but there's never a time that I don't go in the woods that I test something out. And usually it's 3 or 4 different things that I'm testing out. So not a bad idea. There's a podcast that Tracy and I did years ago, How Not to Die in the Woods, I think that's the title of it. The difference between practice, testing, and training. There's the difference in those three things. People kind of lump them together, but they're not. There's big differences, and it's important. So check that podcast out. Yeah, I think that'll do it for this time, and appreciate you watching. Hope you learned something. Hope you use some of this to get out and do something with your own gear, test some things, and see how it works for you. As always, Nature Line School. Come on, join in. Let's learn together.